This is Cyber Smokehouse, and I'm Ernie.
And I'm Graeme.
Join us as we grill the minds, dig into the experience, and serve up the stories of leaders in cybersecurity.
Cyber Smokehouse is sponsored by TBD Cyber, a cybersecurity strategy consulting firm. Well, today's guest is someone that we're really excited to have on the show. He's a global technology executive, cyber risk strategist, and enterprise transformation leader. He champions cyber resilience through advanced threat detection, incident response, and enterprise-wide risk programs. He's developed world-class teams and modern architectures that support cloud adoption, zero trust, and AI-enabled security initiatives. He is the Vice President and Chief Information Security Officer and the Group Head of IT at IHS Towers. Mike Salem, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, well, let's light the fire and crank up the heat in the smokehouse. So, Mike, every smokehouse runs on different fuel. What's driving most of the heat in your world right now? And not the buzzwords, what's the real operational pain?
Well, in my opinion, from the way I see it, there's a lot of the regular pains that everybody has and everybody's dealing with. But I always think there are two different ones that stand out. One of them is also very traditional, and the other one is more of advancements. The traditional one and the pain for me, usually the people of the company, because they are the easiest, like the weakest chain in all of this, the weakest link in this chain. Sorry. So you could put all the technologies in the world. If somebody's not going to follow, or somebody wants to do something, all these millions of dollars that you invested in, it'll be useless for the most part. I mean, there are a lot of technologies these days that capture the behavior of people, potential to predict their next move and what have you, without breaking any privacy, all on their work computers. But still, it's not bulletproof. I mean, anybody at the end of the day can put information ChatGPT at home that has confidential information, and that's gone. Or at least ChatGPT is probably slightly protected. Some other tools or what have you. So that's my pain. And the other pain is just the technology is moving too fast. I don't think a typical CISO mind or CISO approach or philosophy can keep up anymore. It's probably been working, but really something did happen that changed everything, as probably in the last few years only. And that could be faster computers, that could be the quantum computing coming up, that could be the AI. There are a lot of things that are happening around the world, and just it's becoming more and more global. More countries are weaponizing it now in the last few years. So the technology side definitely worries a little bit. I love it. It's exciting, all these new technologies, but at the same time, it's definitely a double-edged sword.
Yeah, that's very true. So let's unwrap the AI piece. I think we have to do that. And I think, when we met before the call, I think it's interesting with your role because you own AI development and you're the CISO. Do I understand that correctly? So how do those roles play together for you? And is it an advantage or is it a conflict of interest? I mean, how does it work in your organization and how do you feel about that? I mean, that's a lot to do, by the way.
Yeah, it is a lot. It is, but I think that there was a lot of good wisdom, in my opinion, from our executive team when they put these together, because the more we dig into it in real life and enterprises, AI and cybersecurity, it's not two different things. It's not even two sides of the same coin. It is the same side of the coin. Anytime you let AI be part of your organization, it's just like adding a super powerful admin human intelligence suddenly on your network. And that super intelligent person has to be handheld from day one from a cybersecurity perspective. So it's not a typical IT. I think AI should never be part of IT. It cannot go into, IT could develop something, POC something. The damage could be too late by then. So what we did, to your point, Ernie, we got few programmers pulled in from, hired from IT and what have you, and we put it under the cybersecurity. Now there's a little challenge. Now I do have an oversight over the IT, but other companies might not have it as CISOs. If not, then a good coordination has to be just developed with the IT. It's just the new world of thing. IT cannot just own anything. I think, in my opinion, AI should sit in cybersecurity because the potential risk and the quickness of that happening is just massive and destructive. So I think it needs to be within people who breathe, smoke, and eat cybersecurity in their heads every step along the way. We're paranoid, 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 because we need to be like that.
So, Mike, I know your companies are very much a global company. I think you have operations through a good part of the world, right? I think Africa and the Middle East and as well as the US. And how do you reconcile? Because each of those different countries have different focus on critical infrastructure and security. And how do you kind of reconcile all the requirements across all those different jurisdictions?
It's very difficult. You touched on a good point. For example, one of the countries we operate in, you mentioned Africa. I'll just, thinking of an example, a recent one, Cameroon, and they have their regulators there have required, just like GDPR, they have a program there. And we were looking at it, and honestly, it's a little different. It's almost conflicting with what we do. They want certain things to be done in a certain way, and if we did that, then we have a problem with many other countries. So the way we solved this over the year is two ways really. We either just have to bite the bullet and just do them both and just be smart about them not conflicting. That can be done in some cases. The other way around it is regulators can listen to you and hear. I mean, they're usually like, not always, but sometimes. I mean, my experience, they've been nice. You got to go and talk to them and tell them, look, you want 1, 2, 3. Oh, we have something much stronger than 1, 2, 3. We have something like spectacular. So like we know you will not change your ways. It's government's politics, it's policies, it's hard. It's to change. But can you at least look at what we're doing here and give us a thumbs up or sign off on it? And in many cases, actually, in most cases, if they see something that's more secure that they're asking for, they'll be okay. They'll give you a pass for it. So that's for the most part been like that kind of conversation with regulators over the years.
And Mike, it's trying to not get into politics on this show. We try to avoid that, but we can't ignore what's going on in the world right now in the Middle East. How does that affect what you're doing to protect your posture now? I mean, obviously there's a lot more attacks, and the world is in a heightened stance of awareness right now. How does that change your business being, as global as you are and having, business operating in the Middle East?
Yeah, of course. And without going into any politics, could be any part of the world. Definitely now it's on the news. We're not saying anything secret here. It's a Middle East topic at this point of time. And we do operate in the Middle East, not as operations, as in offices we have there. But of course, our networks are connected. And, just because if we have a group office doesn't mean it's not connected with the rest of the company. So we have to be very careful. So the risk is, to me, what the first alerted me about this is infrastructure risk, because we're a critical infrastructure. So a lot of countries, if they want to hurt another country, that's an easy target. Instead of trying to get some drone or something, you could just go and get a few smart people on the internet and on some network, and they could just shut down a critical infrastructure. Where we operate, of course, like I said, the critical infrastructure is not in the Middle East for us. We have offices there only. It is in Africa for the most part. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to be impacted, because the critical infrastructure attempt by the adversaries could just, for example, cut off the internet or spread a very bad virus, and it's going to get to our group office, going to get back to Africa or South America and what have you. So the minute the escalation took place about 4 weeks ago, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks ago, we definitely activated a level of security that is designed to be more vigilant than what is needed on a normal day. I mean, we're pretty good at securing everything, but there are a lot of, let's say, switches, policies, alerts that, let's say, I'm just going to give an example that's not even real. But let's say we get an alert back in the days when a certain threat level goes to, 4 out of 10. I'm just making something out like a lever or something. No, we would lower this at this point of time. We can't take chances. The minute we see it at level 2, we need to hear that alert. And we also just recently have been applying, I know that's a different subject, but also applying, by coincidence, the timing was good, AI into our cybersecurity. And we found that to be critical because it's starting to catch things that it never added up in a normal human brain. Like you wouldn't make the connection at all, but it's looking at resilient, data points at the same time, and it's telling us. So we definitely were playing around with this AI because it's so new. But when these conflicts started, we relied on them quite a bit. Now, luckily, fingers crossed, nothing happened. I think the fact that we're not a critical infrastructure for these countries that are being targeted in this war is giving us a break, like a lucky break at this point of time, but not 100% off. We're just in the middle of it in a way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense.
I think the type of industry that you're in. A lot of people we talk to, have consumers as their kind of end customers. You guys are primarily a business to business or business to government, right? Type organization. So, how does that, in your mind, does that change for example, with ransomware, right? Ransomware's primarily today, and ransomware attackers are looking at that kind of double data extortion where they can not only ransomware you, but then take your data and try and extort you to pay the ransom. But that may not be as big an issue for you. I mean, how do you kind of compare yourself to like an organization that maybe has a lot of personal information? How do you see the risk profile being different?
Yeah, our risk profile consists of, and I had just a presentation on this matter a few weeks ago. First of all, I'll get to your point because there is like technical risk for us, like ransom and what have you. But before we get to that point, do we have different kind of risk because we're infrastructure, we are business to business, we're very critical to the countries we operate in. We have the different kind of risks, like the political risk, like we're talking about. We have reputation risk, things, the typical things that the big B2B infrastructure, critical infrastructure is. Now, going back to normal, like any company, B2B, you're right. We are not interesting to the hackers in general. And that's a good thing. You never want to be interesting to hackers, but that's like the general. But there are hackers that will go after, like you said, ransomware. Ransomware, it doesn't matter what you do, whether you're B2B, B2C, or you're a space agency, whatever. It's somebody that has good revenue. That's it. You could be Walmart, you could be American Towers. It doesn't matter. So ransomware is always alive and well. That threat to every single company, that doesn't go away. Surely the more famous one, because people heard about them, will put them more on the map. Surely the profitable ones will be more interesting to them, and what have you. There are like other reasons why ransomware could be more interesting to other companies. Now, but we cannot. One thing that B2B companies cannot just ignore is the fact that we are a stepping stone to B2C companies. Yeah, like if we are, let's talk American terms here. American Towers, which is like us, but in the United States, is similar. It's an infrastructure. It's B2B. They sell their stuff to Verizon and AT&T. So they're not very interesting to hackers, typical hackers. I don't know how they design the network, so I cannot speak for them on their behalf. But usually any B2B company is one way or another connected to, well, the other B that they're selling their products to, which they have B2C. Remember, there was a very famous incident that took place for Target, and the hackers could not get into Target. So when they went, Target is a B2C, so they went to the B2B, which was an company, and that was their stepping stone into Target. So we have to be. It's a big responsibility, honestly, that we could be the bridge to the AT&Ts and MTNs and the carriers in our regions at least. So. Not directly, but it will take probably, it will be from PII and theft. We are slightly, probably a little bit less risky than a B2C company because yes, they can get to us, but the pool of hackers will shrink because it's a harder job. And it's not any hacker that can do it. It's a little bit, smarter, better, whatever, which is a smaller pool that they could find their way to hop from one network to a customer network and what have you. Yeah. So a little bit decreased risk when it comes to people trying to steal our records because our records are not interesting.
Yeah, it's the they're going to take the path of least resistance, right? So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, hackers love that, the least resistance. And why not?
Yeah, so you touched on a couple of things that I wanted to tease out a little bit more around regulations. And, you mentioned PCI and things like that. And when I think about this, I think critical infrastructure. So, a lot of the regulations are, I think, written more towards like energy and like water systems. And telco operators are a little bit different. So are there things that just drive you crazy that you wish the policymakers would just understand that telco is just different? That that, "Guys, this just doesn't make sense for us."
Yeah, there are those things, but back to the point. Actually, maybe I'm lucky, but these regulators have been understanding at least. Maybe yeah. Some you have to talk to them, and you have to have it in writing because there's a legal implication there. I'm sure. I don't know. We haven't gone there, but my guess is uh, but 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 I have had the experience before where we could talk and say this simply does not apply to us. We do not process, for example, a credit card. It doesn't matter how many customers we have. Those people just don't have credit cards. They're B2B. For example, just that example. But in general, it doesn't bother us as much because most of them, Ernie, they hover around GDPR, quite honestly. Now, the SEC, because we're a public company, have their own requirements, but they're reasonable. I mean, I could see they're really trying to protect the welfare of U.S. companies and listed companies at that time, because sometimes you see requirements like, what are they thinking?
Mhm.
But for example, SEC was very, very like, it makes sense. Actually, I'm glad they brought that subject up. And the rest that impact us, we're not a HIPAA company, for example. We don't do defense work, so we don't have the Fed requirements. But so GDPR usually is the main thing, and it's reasonable, I guess. GDPR is not too bad. I don't have much to complain about. I think it's a little silly in some areas, but I get it. Whoever wrote it just needed to be very careful, and they want to make sure they're doing the right thing. I guess I get it. Yeah.
So it sounds like as long as you have a program in place, you've taken a risk-based approach, and you can explain you're doing something, they seem to be reasonable. That's great to hear.
Yeah. I always believe somebody taught me this back in college. I mean, it's not like reinvented the wheel or something. It's very basic. So practically, there are the policies and then the securities or the standards and the securities. The cybersecurity has like the regulations and what have you, the check boxes, and then you have the real security, like the controls and the EDRs and what have you. And it was nice. It was a chart, and they said if you do everything that the regulators want you to do, you will give them 100%. It's check boxes for the most part, but you're only 30% secure because it's not really effective what they tell you. But if you do 100% security, you will cover their 100% too. So go after your controls, do the real work, secure your networks properly and what have you. You'll have a secure network, and voila, while you're doing this, you probably kickboxed everything that the regulators wanted from you. So we take definitely this approach. Let's be extremely secured, fingers crossed, and regulators will follow and they'll be satisfied. That's been working, quite honestly.
I appreciate that. All right, I got one more question for you. So we did a little bit of research too, and it looks like you guys may be going through an acquisition, and I know you have in your career gone through some of these as well. So what does that mean for you, and what does that change? So how does that change for your risk appetite, and what does that mean for you, just how you manage security?
Yeah, well, I mean, from risk, I think it's the right professional thing and the right ethical and what have you, regardless of what kind of acquisitions that's happening or merger and acquisition, to be at full secured posture all the way. So we take that approach that nothing will change theirs, and that's good. I think that's ethical of my team, myself, and what have you. Now, the problem with the challenges with M&As is, we briefly probably have talked about this, is there are a couple of things. First of all, is they put you on the map. A minute ago I said we're so boring from a cybersecurity, and I always love that. Boring is good in cybersecurity. Now our names is everywhere, like because the acquisition that is being put on the news, where you've seen it. It's not a secret. It's not nothing, here I'm saying anything secret. It will make a lot of people see us. And I'm saying only from a cybersecurity lens, I'd like to be under the radar at all. I want to be boring. I don't want anybody to hear about us. Let's just hide. Of course, that's just from my lens only. And now we're more exposed. Now people are talking about it, what's going on, what have you. Suddenly we are like on the map. So that we need to be careful. So there's a new exposure. The other thing is, in any M&A, all hackers, not a secret, they know that networks will start talking to each other between the new companies. And there is always that opportunity that there will be security gaps because things are happening fast, you're adapting, and what have you. And I'm not speaking about our company at all in particular here. I'm speaking about like industry, like standards, industry worries, industry concerns, that there's a phase that during the M&A that both companies in a little bit more vulnerable situation at this point of time. Things are newly connected together. So we have to be very careful with that. So these two things are the main things. Of course, there's just a lot of new people being introduced to the network. So that's another thing we have to take very seriously. Like people we don't know, we're just starting to shake hands with them right now. And this is not a good or a bad thing. This is nothing new, nothing related to IHS Towers. This is related to any company that goes through merger and acquisition. So my advice to anybody that's going through this, watch out. M&A is not just about, transaction and money and what have you. There's something that really could ruin the whole world. Like in their world, in their M&A transaction, something to go bad during that time. So yeah,
That's great. So from fascinating perspectives there, let's pivot a little bit, Mike, and talk about leadership. And I want to start off by asking you, what's one thing maybe that you as a leader that you didn't see modeled for you by other people that were leading you in your career? Now, what's one thing that you had to figure out for yourself in terms of leadership?
Figure out by myself. That's interesting. I think in my world, at least, and I learned this very quickly, and I'm not inventing this. I'm sure it's somewhere in a book somewhere, but I learned it, is the trust in cybersecurity. You have to trust, like it's like a group of soldiers, almost literally. It's a war. I mean, it really is. That's why you see a lot of cybersecurity people come from military background. They come from not only the knowledge they have. I think there's a mentality behind it as well, that this is like us against the world kind of thing, or the world against us. And I don't want to over exaggerate the concept, people not think about it, but at the end of the day, it gives you a very, very effective team where you feel like you're a unit, and you have to defend yourself and the company at this point of time. 3 o'clock call in the morning doesn't mean that, oh, I could wait until tomorrow because it might wait. No. This is more serious than this. Like somebody ambushing your compound, you don't think it might be okay and I'll check it out tomorrow. So that kind of mentality. And for this to happen, there has to be a lot of trust in the people, a lot of close relationship between people. It becomes more personal and what have you. And of course, the trust builds something else. Cybersecurity people have God's access to the system, to the data. And they're like the smart people that know if they want to do anything that is not right, unethical, they could do it without traces. I mean, there are the people who could do this. Like if they want to look at private records, they want to look at salaries, they can, and they can get away with it if they want to. So having the trust, having the relationship and what have you makes a very powerful team, actually.
Yeah, well, actually leads to, I guess, a good question then. So where do you find these people? How do you recruit the right talent for your team, and then how do you kind of retain them?
This probably is retain them, I'll tell you, but hiring the right people is the most difficult part, honestly. I go when we do the interviewing for open positions, we go through a lot. I mean, a lot of people, and a lot of my questions to people, because they're technical stuff, that's easy. I could put them behind a computer and tell them, just show me how to do this. And between that and the resume and their background, this is like a 1 hour out of the way. I could just hire somebody or not. But a lot of the part of the conversations that we have, and I tell my people to have because we have multiple interviews, is like get to know the person. Is this somebody you could trust? Is there something a red flag about this? Are we gonna give this person the castle's keys? Can you trust them with your house keys? So a lot of it, the interviews we go through, like let's go. I'm not a psychologist, but like the psychological part of things, the emotional part, the EQ part of things. Is there anything deceptive about this person? I don't want these people to be. I mean, nobody wants them to be around them, but and then how do we find them? My first preference is references, honestly. Somebody that tells me that's my first reference. So my second preference is reliable company names in cybersecurity. Like I know, like for example, I'll give you an idea. We hired somebody a few years back. He's in Dubai. He came from Emirates Airline. Now, I know Emirates Airline very well. I know some people in it. I know their cybersecurity is a top-notch program there, just from other friends and what have you. So the minute he knocked at our doors, like applying, and he told me from his Emirates Airline, I was like, let's make sure he's technically good because he checked one big box there. Now, how do you keep them? This is, I think, a leadership has nothing to do with the cybersecurity or what have you. I think a lot of respect and appreciation and genuine, not the fake kind of stuff, really genuine appreciation. And that's just my personality in general. So to appreciate the people, to respect them, to listen to them, give them chances, all this atmosphere, you put it up, you put them in, not only you keep them, somehow it's magical. They become better employees by a lot. I mean, it's such a win-win situation to everybody. So yeah, it's just a good. If you come to one of our offices, you will see it's like a family working there. So, it's a very positive, good atmosphere.
Yeah, that's great. It's interesting, everyone that we've hired here at our company is that we either have known or we know someone that knows them, right? So, because it is a little bit of a roll of the dice when you're trying to hire someone that is that you don't know.
It makes it difficult for newcomers to join. If you're gonna think like this, and I'm gonna think like this, and everybody's gonna think like this, where are these new kids gonna work? But it is what it is. Yeah, they need to find, like we all did, a starting point and then build the trust. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you, as you communicate throughout the organization, particularly maybe up to, how do you take kind of technical topics, some of the security challenges, the risks and so on, how do you translate that into something that's meaningful to the board or the executive team?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. You have to look, the board and executive teams always mix between people that might understand what you're saying and people who are just like non-technical. And these are the majority usually of the board members. They're more like, financial people, usually the boards, and strategic people. So it's something I have to do every time. I'll just give you an example to make the story more relative to them or more interesting. I had an encounter not long time ago. I mean, it's like a year, I guess it is kind of long time ago. And I was trying to explain to one of the board members, what do the vulnerability and penetration testing companies do, kind of thing. And I gave him an example. I said, like, imagine our company is a building and we have to lock all our doors. We send the security guy and he locks all the doors. And then how can we be sure that he did a good job and he didn't leave anything unlocked? So we get that penetration, quote unquote, company, and their job, they are door and window experts. And they go walking around alley by alley, floor by floor, and they try to open every door and make sure. And I told them that's exactly what penetration testing companies do, except we're talking networks here instead of. So that's just one example. I've had multiple of these examples that sometimes you just have to put it in a storyline, the security and what have you. That's one thing. The other thing, and that follows, is speak of impact and probabilities. Yeah, so we have to get to a serious point, especially when I'm justifying numbers and justifying monies and what have you. I will quantify a potential incident and I'll be realistic, because the minute, as very risky, by the way, in my line of work, the minute they feel there's any exaggeration, just like anything else in life and anything in life, they will start doubting it. And the reason why I think this is important in cybersecurity, because a lot of what we say is theoretical. It's like, if this happens, what are the chances that we're going to get hacked by a state sponsor? You cannot put a number on it, but you do your best to put some kind of statistic around it. And then you put numbers on it, and that's convincing. Now, the last resort I have is when there's a major, like an investment or change of direction, what have you. I would just go and retain somebody from a very known name that has a lot of credibility, have a discussion with him or her on what we're trying to do. We get to an agreement on the approach. And that could be like companies like Deloitte or Kroll or Rapid7, these big names. And I've done this not long time ago. I invite them to a board dinner, and they had to explain a few things. And that usually is a conversation winner, because the trust, and they're such an expert. They could speak about, especially if you get a high-end person, they'll speak about everything, and they'll bring experience from other companies. So that will be my last resort if everything else fails before that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. So storytelling, showing the business impact, and then looking for outside, bringing outside experts in is I think that's great advice. Awesome.
It works. It seems it's been working. Yeah.
So Mike, rounding out this section a little bit, I did want to ask a couple more questions on the tech landscape. Is there anything else that keeps you worried right now, as far as, some of the emerging pieces like cloud security? Like, are we still having misconfigurations of the problem? Identity being the new perimeter, quantum.
Yeah. No, what I'm saying is quantum is not here today, but it will be 5+ years, they estimate. Encryptions can be broken at that time. But the problem is, and hackers are doing this already, and probably governments are doing it, and smart hackers, they're collecting these files that they could not encrypt today. Keep them aside. When the technology comes along, 5 to 10 years, decrypt them then. It's still going to be valuable, because if you go and forget about the governments for now, if you go to a hospital right now and steal like a hospital system, like 1 million records of PIIs, all encrypted, worthless, you keep them for a few years, quantum comes along, the files in your pocket, they're not going to be quantum encrypted at that point of time. You stole them already, and then use quantum to decrypt them, and voila, it's the same damage. You got all these health records, because your name and social security and blood information, everything, whatever they like to steal, still going to be the same 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So, a few dead people, maybe they're going to lose some records. But for the most part, people are not talking today about this problem, that any file that gets stolen now will be decrypted, and the value of the file today will be as valuable as it will be in 10 years from now, whether it was secret government records or health records. So soon, I think we're going to be in trouble, really. Because because the hackers, I've read about this in so many places, they are aware of this. They're smart. They're already stealing files that would deem useless today, but it will be very useful when quantum comes along. So there will be a turning point at one point of time where it's going to be a massive exposure of records once quantum decryption kicks in, because these people are ready, they have the files, and they're just waiting for that powerful decryption to comes along. Yeah.
Yeah, no, interesting viewpoint. And it is fun to bring this up with folks on here, because everybody's got different opinions, because like you said, there's no hard deadline that we have that you need to do something by this date, because we just don't know. But no, good insight.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. As long as they have these files, they will unlock them 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now. They're just ready for somebody practically to deliver the keys to them, so they could open these files. So in this case, yeah, anytime, still a bad time for it to come along. The files are in their hand.
Yep. So what kind of things do you do to stay sharp and keep up with all the emerging technologies? Are you a podcast guy? Conferences? Do you read?
Conferences, definitely. Read is very important. I like to meet with a lot of vendors, a lot. I'm so involved in the startup community, and I sit as an advisor for a couple of them, and on the board advisor, I guess. And anybody usually that knocks at my door and say, "Hey, we have a product I want to show you," tell them, "Come show us." And I'll be honest with them. I'll tell them, "Look, a very small chance we're going to buy it, but I would like to hear it. Maybe in the future I'll buy it." I'll listen because innovation is there. Innovation is with all these startups. So that's a big thing. Podcast, not as much, but you guys are starting to change my mind here. So we'll see. Yeah.
We appreciate that.
Yeah. So if you had to make one bold prediction about cybersecurity over the next 5 years, what would it be?
Here we go. We have to bring up, I'm sorry, the subject of AI. Cybersecurity will be dominated by, totally dominated. Some, like, if we take the talk of the street, it's like what jobs could go away and what jobs could come in. Now, I don't know about the jobs. We might still need humans, but the command and control of cybersecurity from both ends, from the attackers and the defenders, is gonna be practically like the movie Terminators. People will just say their intention of what they want to do and let the AI do everything because it is amazingly well suited for cybersecurity. AI. It's not good for some things till this day, at least AI. But cybersecurity, wow! I mean, it's incredible when you think about just one example, like a typical traditional hackers. They will try to attempt to hack a network, and it doesn't work. So they, look back at the logs or restudy it, come back and attack again in a few days with a more enhanced attack. That doesn't take days anymore. That takes like maybe a minute maximum. So what used to be a consistent attack, like a smarter and a smarter, that used to take 5, 6 months, that could be done in one afternoon. That's insane. And the same thing, if you don't have AI to defend you from the other end, they will destroy you. Like from day one, they will destroy you, the attackers with AI. So I predict that it's going to be really a non-physical, more of a network Terminator situation in the near future. These guys are attacking, and the other guys are defending or counter-attacking, and 90% of the work is being done by AI from both ends. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to say the least.
Bots against bots, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we're seeing it. I am personally seeing it. I'm seeing attacks that has a signature of an AI for sure. Because from my knowledge, like I'm looking at the reports that we see, and luckily we defend everything so far. I'm like, this can't be a human. The speed, and it's just not human anymore. So I think attackers starting to nimble and play around with the concept of a true utilization of AI to attack.
Maybe we should apologize and tell our AI overlords that we appreciate them in case they find this video in 5 years.
Yes, then put some food for them and everything.
We've been in the fire for a while, so now let's step back from the pit and get to know who's behind the tongs. So this is where we like to learn a little bit more about you. So if you take us back to the beginning, did you think you'd be in cybersecurity? What was your origin? How'd you get into it?
No, not at all. Actually, I started my college degrees in astrophysics, and I remember my professor. Luckily, he was very honest with me. He goes, "Mike, if you're not going to finish PhD in this major, you're wasting your time practically." And I was not really into PhD. I mean, I was barely into bachelor for that matters. So that changed my mind quickly, and just happened that I guess I'm telling you my age, my old age now. The management information systems major was new at that time, which is information technology, kind of on the newer side. And total coincidence, a friend told me, "You like computers, you always work around computers. Check it out. It's something." And nobody knew what it was. It was Sony. It's like something about business and computers together and what have you. And I got into it, and I was a programmer for a few years, then into IT. But I think what pulled me into cybersecurity, and actually, it's kind of interesting. It's ultra cautious person in life. Like I think I kind of run my wife crazy. I was like, "Did you check this? Did you check that? And what are the chances of this and that, of something wrong going?" It's not a good thing. It's something like it's probably gonna the reason behind my high blood pressure. But it is what it is. That's how I am. And I remember I was working at a company at one point of time, and one of the managements like, "Mike, you do have that personality." And I think that's a really important personality in the security world, because you don't leave anything to a doubt or to chances or anything like this. You're just like, yeah, I think he was telling me I'm annoying. But regardless, and that's I got into an area called the risk management system at the time before really the word cyber came around. Some kind of the risk, the IT risk, and what have you. And I loved it. And since then, step by step to what got me to today. Yeah.
And would you say, was there any like pivotal moment in your career that really shaped you as a security leader today? Is there anything that stands out? It was like,
A security leader, there's something, it's funny when you ask the right questions, kind of brings certain memory. I don't know if this is it or not, but I remember something that kind of elevated me into like the radar of the management, the top management in cybersecurity. There was an incident. I wasn't in cybersecurity at the time, but I was in IT. There was a very strange incident of a breach of some sort, not a major one, but they needed some information about it. And they are the company, what have you. And I took totally different approach at that time. It was a little bit out of the box thinking when I started to try to decipher what's going on and who's who. And luckily, I guess I got it and I caught it. And I'm sure some of it was good work, some of it was luck, but I got it. It brought me. I think that was a pivotal point, in my opinion. Maybe now that you ask it, that's like, oh, you look at that guy, Mike, over there. He probably could solve bigger problems if he can solve this problem. That was many years ago. So if I have to answer this question, it's probably that, or one of them at least. Yeah.
all right, well, we like to think that we're going to get some early professionals listening into our show. So if we do have one here, what kind of advice would you give them? Someone coming into the career, or maybe someone coming out of college that wants to eventually be a CISO? What would you tell them?
Like time will go back. So this is the best advice. That would be my advice to young me if I was in this. To all these professionals out of college, you don't have the experience. So the best thing I think they could do is get the next best thing outside of the experience is certificates. Go get the CISPs and the CISMs and all of them. I can't even remember the name of all of them. It gives confidence. It gives you, your first foot into the door that this guy knows a lot about cybersecurity. This guy is educated well about it. This guy seems to be serious about it. You just want that first step into the door. And my advice, go get these certificates. It's a very black and white thing. It's very clear. Study it, get it. And it will put you on the map quickly into introductory kind of positions. And then, you go from there.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's so tough for the people coming in the industry to get that experience. And I guess the certificates are a good way to do it. Good advice.
Yeah, gives confidence. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's just, unless you're one of the few lucky ones, which I don't think they even make 1% of the world, you got an internship of some sort here or there. But I mean, what are the percentages there? That's very small to get internship in cybersecurity world. There is, but it's small percentage. Yeah.
All right, Mike. So we can't let you leave without talking about the smokehouse. So, and that means different things to different people on the show. So I guess first question is, are you an indoor and outdoor cook?
Oh boy, I'm gonna sound boring to you guys now. I'm an indoor kind of guy.
Okay. So
Qualify the word cook could be understood in many ways, but we'll take it the simplest way. Indoor. Yeah.
okay. And do you have a favorite recipe or meal that you like to cook?
I have a preference into trying to try always international cuisines. There's a lot of interesting stuff there. If I have to list a couple of or three, let's say three, because I have few, I think they're very rich cuisines will be Indian, Middle Eastern, and I would say possibly not as rich, but I think it's delicious, the French cuisine.
You like the curries? You like the curries and the biryanis and those sorts of things? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, definitely not everyday meal. They're pretty heavy, spicy, and it's crazy. But you gotta give it to them, the folks in India. I mean, so rich with their recipes and their spices and what have you. It's like an art. It's pretty big. Yeah.
What spice level are you? And I guess there's different scales. There's like American spice and Indian spice.
I will have to say that American spice does not qualify as a spice.
All right. So that tells us a lot.
I'm definitely into the deep end to it, the heavy, the Indian ones. Yeah, I think it's probably a disaster to the digestive system, but it's pretty good though.
You and Graham will get along well. Try to go with him and forget it. I'm like sweating. He'll like die, but he'll eat that stuff.
Yeah, I like the hot curries. The vindaloos and yeah, that's good. Good stuff.
All right. Well, Mike, is there anything you'd like to, plug if people want to get in touch with you? What's a good way for them to get in touch?
Absolutely. Feel free to, I don't know, is it too adventurous to say to give them my email if you want? Is this something is normal? Have you anybody done this before?
No, absolutely. If you're open to people reaching out, I'm sure they'd love to. And obviously, early professionals, yeah, please.
Yeah, please. Yeah. I mean, you have a controlled audience. They are into the subject. I think they're my kind of people. So it's not like you're posting on a billboard or anything like that. So yeah, I would say feel free. You have my email, share it. I would love to hear stories about cybersecurity. I would love to help anybody that is in a situation that wants to know something or stuck in a situation or what have you. I've been through it all. From a startup to selling a startup and exiting all the way to heading the whole cybersecurity program for a New York Stock Exchange listed company, Critical. So I think I've seen both ends from a cybersecurity perspective and startups. So happy to help anybody that I would. It's a close to the heart subject.
Well, shoot, we may even take you up on that. We like to say we're out of startup mode. We're a small company, but Graham and I are going through that journey. So we may take you up on that option as well. We appreciate it. Well, Mike, this has been a genuine pleasure. Thank you for bringing your honesty and your experience to the Smokehouse today.
Thanks for having me, guys. Really, it was interesting. I say definitely a good podcast experience for me.
Well, very cool. Hey, and to everyone listening, if you got something out of today's conversation or if it made you laugh, please tell someone about it. That's how we grow the community. So please subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the Cyber Smokehouse. And that wraps another episode. Thank you for joining. For show notes and other episodes, visit us at cybersmokehouse.com. Cyber Smokehouse is sponsored by TBD Cyber, a cybersecurity strategy consulting firm.
TBD Cyber works with organizations to assess their security program, develop and implement security initiatives, and optimize their security investments. We work in areas as broad as data security, risk management, cyber resilience, and security architecture. Our clients value us for our extensive expertise and independent advice, which is why we do not sell security products or deliver managed security services. If you want to work with a trusted advisor, we can help. You can learn more at tbdcyber.com. We'll see you on the next one.